One prediction says someone will die. Another says someone will escape. But what if every prediction about the From Season 4 finale is looking in the wrong direction? What if the finale isn't actually about who survives, but about who the town finally chooses? Because when you line up every vision, every sacrifice, every strange conversation, and every impossible coincidence, a disturbing pattern begins to appear. The town has never been trying to kill everyone. It has been testing them. And the Season 4 finale may reveal that every tragedy we've watched was leading toward one final selection. That's why today we're ranking 8 predictions from the safest to the most insane. But here's the twist. Every prediction is connected to one terrifying theory. The closer we get to number 1, the more it feels like the show has been quietly preparing us for an ending nobody wants to believe. Prediction number 8 is the safest one. Someone important dies before sunrise. At first, this sounds obvious. From has never been afraid to kill major characters. Every season reminds us that nobody is safe. But look at what the show is actually telling us. Death in this town is never random. Every major death changes the balance of the story. Father Katri died after giving Boyd hope. Tianchin died when the town wanted to break everyone emotionally. Smiley died only to return in an even stranger way. Every death creates movement. So, if the finale claims another important life, the real question isn't who dies. The real question is what that death unlocks. This is the detail everyone missed. Whenever the town takes someone, another mystery suddenly becomes visible. Almost like the town demands payment before revealing another secret. That means the finale's death could be less about shock value and more about opening a door that has remained closed since Season 1. But here's what changes everything. What if the town no longer needs random victims? If our central theory is correct, the town has almost finished its selection process. That means future deaths won't be punishment. They'll be part of the final test. That's why this prediction feels safe. A major death is likely. But the meaning behind that death may completely change everything we've believed about the monsters. Now, let's move to prediction number 7. Victor finally remembers the missing piece of his childhood. Everyone expects Victor to reveal another memory. After all, his fragmented childhood has become one of the biggest mysteries in the entire series. But that's not the real mystery. The real mystery is why Victor keeps remembering only when the town allows it. Think carefully. Victor has spent decades surrounded by reminders. The trees, the lighthouse, the tunnels, the drawings. Yet his memories don't return naturally. They appear almost on schedule, usually after another important event changes the story. That's incredibly suspicious. Normal trauma creates forgotten memories. But Victor's memories behave more like locked files waiting for permission. And this is where it gets darker. What if Victor isn't recovering memories? What if someone or something is releasing them one piece at a time? Look at how often Victor says he suddenly remembers something. He doesn't search for the memory. The memory arrives. That completely changes how we view his character. Victor may not simply be the keeper of the town's history. He may actually be part of the town system. Every drawing he created might have served a purpose he never understood. Every forgotten detail might have been intentionally hidden until the finale approached. If that's true, then the final missing memory won't simply explain the past. It could activate the future. Imagine Victor remembering the one event that reveals why children were chosen, why certain people survive impossible situations, and why Boyd keeps becoming the center of every major confrontation. Suddenly Victor stops being just the witness. He becomes the final key. Which brings us to prediction number 6. The Faraway Trees finally reveal their real purpose. Everyone thinks the trees are escape routes. Some think they're random portals. Others believe they're magical shortcuts. But look at what the show is actually telling us. The trees almost never send people exactly where they want to go. Instead, they send people where the story needs them. Boyd reaches Martin. Sarah reaches places connected to voices. Tabitha reaches the outside world under circumstances that feel almost impossible. None of these journeys look accidental anymore. This is the detail everyone missed. The trees behave less like transportation and more like decision makers, almost like they judge who enters and where they belong. That's an enormous difference. If our theory about the town choosing people is true, then the faraway trees aren't helping people escape. They're sorting candidates. Every destination becomes another stage of the test. Every impossible journey pushes someone closer to the role the town has prepared for them. Think about chess. Pieces don't choose where they move. The player does. Now replace the chess player with the town itself. Suddenly, every impossible coincidence becomes intentional. Every strange survival becomes meaningful. Every encounter becomes another calculated move. And this is exactly why the finale could completely redefine the trees. Not as magical objects, but as extensions of the town's intelligence. If that's true, then entering a tree during the finale won't be taking a chance. It will be accepting a decision that has already been made. And once someone steps through that final tree, there may be no going back. Because the next prediction doesn't just change where the characters are going. It changes who has been controlling the game from the very beginning. Prediction number 5 is where this list stops feeling like educated guesses and starts feeling like a blueprint the show has been hiding in plain sight. Someone will willingly make a deal with the town. Most fans imagine the finale ending with one last fight. Boyd versus the monsters. The survivors versus whatever intelligence controls this place. But what if the real climax isn't a battle at all? What if it's a negotiation? That sounds impossible until you notice how the town has always communicated. Not through speeches. Not through clear answers. Through temptation. Look at what the show is actually telling us. Every important character has been offered something they desperately wanted. Boyd was given hope. Sarah was promised a way to save everyone. Tabitha was shown a path that looked like freedom. Jade keeps finding clues that pull him deeper instead of leading him out. Even Victor has spent years believing that if he follows certain patterns, something terrible can be avoided. None of these are random experiences. They're invitations. And this is where it gets darker. A test only works if someone chooses. If every decision were forced, there would be no reason to keep repeating the cycle. The town doesn't simply trap people. It pressures them until they willingly step toward the outcome it wants. That's why the finale may include something we've never truly seen before. Not a desperate survivor running from danger, but someone calmly accepting an offer. Imagine the choice. Save one person or save everyone. Escape forever or stay behind. Tell the truth or protect the illusion. The monsters don't need to win physically if the town can convince someone to surrender psychologically. That is far more terrifying. Because once someone agrees, every sacrifice that came before suddenly becomes part of a contract that has existed all along. Now we arrive at prediction number 4. The man in yellow finally reveals what he really is. Most theories assume he's the ultimate villain. Others think he's the creator of the town. But that's not the real mystery. The real mystery is why he almost never behaves like someone who needs power. Real rulers demand attention. The man in yellow doesn't. He appears when the story reaches a turning point, delivers just enough information to redirect the characters, and then disappears again. That's incredibly unusual. Almost as if his job isn't to control the town, it's to supervise it. This is the detail everyone missed. Every time a character gets close to understanding the rules, another figure appears to change the direction of the investigation. Sometimes it's through visions. Sometimes through voices. Sometimes through symbols. Information is never denied completely. It's redirected. That suggests multiple layers of control. The monsters hunt. The voices manipulate. The visions guide. So where does the man in yellow fit? He may not sit at the top. He may be the examiner. Think about how an examiner behaves. They don't answer the questions. They watch how you answer them. Suddenly his calm attitude makes perfect sense. He already knows the outcome. He's only waiting to see who reaches it. If that's true, then every conversation involving him has been misunderstood. Fans search his dialogue for hidden facts. But the more important clues are hidden inside the questions he allows people to ask. Because those questions reveal exactly what the town wants each character to become. And once you see him that way, he becomes much more frightening than any monster. A monster kills you. An examiner decides whether you've passed. Now, let's move into prediction number 3. Boyd will be forced to choose between destroying the town or replacing its leader. At first, this sounds like a wild twist. But think about Boyd's journey from the very beginning. Every season pushes him into responsibility. He finds the talismans. He protects the survivors. He carries impossible decisions. He keeps surviving encounters that should have killed him. Why Boyd? Luck can't explain it anymore. Look at what the show is actually telling us. Whenever hope begins to disappear, Boyd becomes the person everyone follows. That's not coincidence. That's preparation. And this is where everything flips upside down. We've been assuming Boyd is the town's greatest enemy. What if he's actually its favorite candidate? Think about every psychological attack he's endured. The worms, Martin, the music box, the hallucinations, the constant guilt. Those experiences didn't simply torture him. They transformed him. Every trial removed another piece of the man he used to be and replaced it with someone capable of carrying impossible burdens. This is exactly how leadership tests work. Not by measuring strength, by measuring endurance. Every loss Boyd survives teaches him something the town may require from its next guardian. That completely reframes his entire story. He hasn't been escaping the town's influence. He's been advancing through its system. If our central theory is right, the finale won't ask whether Boyd can save everyone. It will ask whether Boyd is willing to become the very thing he's been fighting. Because every prison eventually needs a warden. And if the old one is finally reaching the end of the cycle, the town may already know exactly who comes next. Which leads us into the final two predictions. The ones that don't just explain the finale. They explain why the town may have existed long before Victor. Long before Boyd. And perhaps long before anyone could even remember its real beginning. Prediction number 2 is where every clue we've discussed suddenly points in the same direction. The cycle will not end. It will begin again. At first, that sounds like the darkest possible ending. Fans have spent 4 seasons hoping someone will finally destroy the town, break the curse, and free everyone trapped inside. But what if the show has never been building toward an escape? What if it has been building toward an inheritance? Look at what the show is actually telling us. Every generation leaves behind fragments instead of answers. Victor inherited the aftermath of a massacre. Boyd inherited a town already filled with impossible rules. Tabitha inherited mysteries that Miranda never had the chance to solve. Jade inherited symbols that someone else carved decades earlier. Nobody starts from the beginning. Everyone starts in the middle. That is not how a prison works. That is how a cycle works. This is the detail everyone missed. The town never erases the past completely. It preserves just enough of it for the next group to continue searching. The bottle trees remain. The lighthouse remains. Victor's drawings survive. The talismans survive. Even the monsters follow rules that seem older than any living character. Why preserve evidence if the goal is simply to kill everyone? Because the town doesn't feed only on fear. It feeds on repetition. Every generation asks the same questions. Every generation reaches the same crossroads. Every generation believes it is finally different. And then the cycle begins again. But here's what changes everything. What if breaking the cycle isn't actually possible? What if the real challenge is refusing to become part of it? That would explain why every major character eventually faces an impossible moral choice instead of a physical one. The town isn't searching for the strongest survivor. It's searching for the person willing to accept responsibility for everyone else, no matter the cost. That's exactly why Boyd's story, Victor's memories, Tabitha's visions, and Jade's obsession all seem to be moving toward the same destination. Not freedom, succession. And that brings us to prediction number 1. The town has been choosing its next keeper since season 1. This sounds insane. Until you stop asking who the monsters are and start asking why certain people are allowed to live. Think about it. Boyd has survived encounters that should have killed him. Victor survived an entire childhood massacre. Tabitha escaped the town only to find herself pulled back into its story. Jade keeps uncovering clues that would have driven almost anyone else completely insane. Sarah hears voices that could have destroyed her, yet she's still alive. None of these characters were protected because they were lucky. They were preserved because they were useful. And this is where it gets darker than anything the series has shown so far. Imagine the town as a living intelligence, not a place, not a curse, not a monster, a system. Like every living system, it has one instinct above all else: survive. It cannot survive if everyone dies. It cannot survive if nobody remembers the rules. It cannot survive without someone maintaining the balance between hope and terror. So what does it do? It creates candidates. It isolates them. It traumatizes them. It forces impossible choices. It strips away certainty. Then it watches, not to see who wins, but to see who changes. Because only someone transformed by the town can truly become part of it. Suddenly, every season looks different. The monsters were never the final threat. They were the entrance exam. The visions were never random. They were lessons. The symbols weren't warnings. They were instructions. Victor's drawings weren't simply memories. They were records left for the next generation. Even the faraway trees no longer feel like magical portals. They feel like checkpoints in a process that has repeated for decades, maybe centuries. Every clue has been pointing toward one horrifying possibility. The finale won't reveal who defeats the town. It will reveal who inherits it. And if that happens, the final scene may be terrifyingly quiet. No massive battle. No explosion. No dramatic celebration. Just one character looking at the town with completely different eyes. Not as a prisoner, but as its newest guardian. Then imagine the final shot. A road. A fallen tree. A family we've never seen before slowing down their car. The same beginning. The same mistake. The same cycle starting all over again. And somewhere in the distance, someone watches. Not to stop them. Not to save them. But to welcome them. Because that's not the real mystery anymore. The real mystery is this. If the town has been choosing its next keeper from the very beginning, has the finale been about escaping all along, or has every survivor been walking toward a destiny that was decided the moment they arrived?